Welcome to Ageod, Civil War II. I'm Charles Cummings, and I'll be taking you through what's going to be a long and detailed sort of tutorial series for you out there. This part here is primarily going to be focused on mostly new players. Of course, anyone is welcome to join in. You hear the music in the background, so I'm just going to turn that down. If you've bought the game, you want to follow along as to kind of learn about specific points. Tutorials are going to be time-wise pretty short, so it'll be easier for you to pick. Okay, maybe you just want to see a specific one, or if you're just interested in the game, you kind of wanted to see what it's about. Yeah, so feel free to join in. I'm not going to kind of recap the game because I already did 2 videos on sort of a brief introduction on this. So I'm just going to bring up the options. And if you're following along, I just wanted to make sure that you do have focus on move checked. So at least where it's loaded, the load delay, and then the rest of the stuff is not really that critical yet for what we're going to be doing. So to start our tutorial series, probably I think the easiest thing to do is let's just start with the actual tutorial. So click on New Game as I just did, and then click on Tutorial Basic Rules. And in this tutorial, you only have the option of playing the USA. Okay, so just select that and then click Play. At this point, it's going to basically, as you can guess, load the game. And the tutorial series, this is going to be quite different than the actual game. I mean, obviously the map and everything else is the same, but we're going to have these boxes. It's going to basically tell us, look at this and look at this. So I'm actually not going to read every single word on the box. I think that's probably a bit redundant, but we will be basically following the tutorial and looking at things in depth as I will explain them to you. So basically, at this point, we're in late March 1862, and we're taking over Grant's campaign against the Confederates in Kentucky and now Tennessee, and moving into Mississippi after Fort Henry and Nashville have fallen. Okay, so that's kind of what it's saying here, and it's basically telling us, okay, we're going to organize for our next campaign to eventually take Corinth. So let's just click the next button, okay, and then it's going to just tell us a little bit more information. And one of the things, the key thing it's telling us here is, you see this little arrow that's saying, look at this, look at this. Every turn that happens, there are basically messages pop up, okay, and so if it's red, it means it's something more kind of, you could say, important is happening. But basically, you can always go back and look in every turn, because no matter what turn you're playing, what happened in the previous turn, what sort of is applying this turn by looking at the messages. You can close it out, and you can click it again. And then this actually brings us to subsets. So this is all the messages, and then these are subsets of messages if you're only interested in a certain type, like for example, battles. Yeah, okay, so let's just go ahead and go to the next one, and this is going to be the main focus on today. Is just want to show you the mini map, and then the specific overlays that are associated with each one. So to do that, let's get rid of the message box, and let's move the tutorial box to, go to the right. There we go. So it moves to the right. Now you see the arrows like saying look down, but it really, you see there, now it's popped back over. So this is the area it wants us to focus on. So if we look at the map, this is basically a general map of North America, with including a small, only a small part of Canada. Of course, in the American Civil War, the main theater is in, this kind of central part of America, eastward. So what it's telling us to do is we want to click the globe, So I'm just going to click that, and then that's going to bring up all these other buttons. Okay, and now I'm actually just going to drop this out because I want you to be able to see a bit more of the map. So let's just click on the first one. So clicking on that actually didn't change the map; it just brought up the additional options. And you can of course click the X to clear it out again. But if you want to get rid of it, then you need to click the globe again. So click it, and let's just click on the two sabers, and it says we'll show the owner of all regions. So if you click that, the map turns into Confederate gray or Union blue. Okay, and the simple way of understanding it is if it's blue, the Union is in control of the territory. If it's gray, the Confederacy is in control of the territory. Now, there's a couple key points here. One is being in control is not the same as having a loyal population. We'll talk about that later. And second of all, you can have different degrees of control. For instance, here it's blue and the United States has 75%, okay, while the Confederate States of America has 25%. So it's not all or nothing as you can, which kind of makes sense. So if you can, I'm just zooming out as much as possible. You can actually zoom out all the way, and then we don't actually see any units or cities, and we just see the map, and you can kind of get an easy feel for what the Confederacy still controls. Now, interesting here, you can already see it's like, oh well, they don't exactly control their assumed territory. The Union has already begun to encroach on Tennessee, for example, and of course much of Virginia as well. Okay, so let's just go to the next one. So this says we'll show regions where supply can pass through. Supply is very important in the American Civil War. It was always a major issue for both sides for different reasons. But green means supply can pass through it, and brown or whatever color you want to call it means supply cannot pass through. So you can't exactly see it here, but if you consider a situation where you might have green, if you're the Union, you have green here and here, and you're surrounded by a sea of Confederate territory, and which is probably going to mean you're surrounded by a sea of brown supply, or a brown colored on the supply overlay, you would not be able to get supply there unless you, for instance, had a harbor or some other things. So just to consider it, okay, green means supply can pass through, brown means it can't. This says to show you who controls the strategic towns, and so in this tutorial scenario, you can see it's Louisville, Bowling Green, Nashville. We control all of these, and then Memphis and Corinth are controlled by the Confederates. Now, two of these are pulsing or flashing, however you want to describe it. That gives us gives us more information. In addition to being a strategic town, it's actually also more important. It's actually considered also an objective town. So all objective towns are strategic towns. Not all strategic towns are objective towns. Yes. So hopefully that's clear. As you can guess, Corinth and Memphis are very important for the Confederacy, and the Union is going to want to take them. I did mention this to you, region alliances. So let's see. Now we need to. You can see that there are different sort of shades. Like darker blue is more Union, and then lighter, kind of like this lighter blue all the way to, even to it's more of a gray is Confederacy. So so there are different shades to represent like the different levels. So if the Union has more loyalty, it's more blue. The Confederacy down here, it's 90-10 in their favor. It's more gray. Political states. These are, I don't think any of this is I don't think any of this is a surprise to anyone. So one thing is they do already have here West Virginia as a separate state. Of course, in late March 1862, that's actually not the case. It's still part of Virginia. I think West Virginia became a separate state on January 1st, 1863. Um, Theaters of operations. I think those are kind of like loosely following um, the theaters that the Confederacy or the Union considered at the time. Now, do know that historically the theaters of operations changed, so it is a bit hard, but you can kind of get a feel for it. Um, this is a really interesting one. This is terrain. So I think you can the colors and like they don't necessarily mean a whole lot initially, but if you look down here, you can see, okay, this color green is clear, darker green is woods, and then darker green is forest. Kind of like this brownish tan color is hills. Let's see if we can find some mountains. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. So here are the mountains. So different terrains, and this is a new feature. So it does take a look at different, considering the terrain, different offensive and defensive percentages. And I think that's probably a bit too complicated now, but basically in the American Civil War, and really, you all wars, but I mean, it's obviously it's different. It was different back then. Terrain has a very significant impact on forces' ability to fight well or to fight in different strategies or in tactics. So we'll definitely be getting into that later on. And then finally, weather. So these are the overlays. So you might ask me, okay, Charles, which one do you like? I usually have the owner up or the supply one, but sometimes it's always just good to see, kind of give an overall feel of are you having alliance problems in certain regional alliances in certain areas, or just kind of confirm your strategic and objective locations. And these are actually new ones compared to the first game, the terrain and the weather. So I think I'll be using those more as we go along. So at this point, I'm just going to click no overlay, and you can see it drops it off. And then of course we can click the globe again, and it goes away. So this has been tutorial 1. It's been on overlays. You can also go through. I'm just pressing the numbers now, so I just press 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so if you don't want to use the buttons, you can also simply use the numbers. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and you kind of if you haven't bought the game, you can at least get a feel for the map. And we'll be continuing this tutorial series for some time. The game's only been out about a month, so we're in early stages. All right, see you next time.